So a couple weeks ago, I've been a little under the weather, and I said that I went through my old DVD collection to try and see if there was movies I can get rid of, make room for some more stuff. And that's how I came across the DVD for Furry Vengeance. And even though I wanted to review today's movie Show Dogs for a while now, I found a couple of other ones that I just so happened to have. I'm assuming I had these when I was a kid. I have not watched these in God knows how long. Just like Furry Vengeance. It's from an old Blockbuster video, so fitting for a Blockbuster show. And this also says this was a rental. Probably not for the same store, but yeah, close enough. So even though this is going to be a review of Show Dogs, I'm going to talk a little bit about these movies as well, and a couple of other talking dog movies, just to get them out of the way, because I don't know if I really want this to become a thing on Blockbuster's show. I don't know. There's just so many talking dog movies, I just want to get the few that I have on hand out of the way.
I'm Max. I'm an undercover cop working a kidnapping case. A baby panda was stolen, and they're using the dog show as a front for animal smugglers.
Why are there dogs in this meeting?
That's what partners are for.
What is happening in this town?
Let's take these smugglers down.
Viva Las Vegas.
I give props to hip-hop, so hip-hop, hooray!
Viva Las Vegas.
Hey, ho.
Stop, Max, stop it. What kind of dog likes hip-hop?
Now, they're at the world's most exclusive dog show.
Yeah, bow to the king.
You were kidding me, right?
And Max
Are we in the right place? I could have swore we were backstage at a Cirque du Soleil.
is on a mission.
Wait, you're a cop?
I'm working undercover.
What if you actually won the whole show?
Nope. Hey, you do remember I bite, right?
Show Dogs.
Before we talk about some of these other movies and just talk about the trend of the talking dog family movie, let's talk about one of the worst received talking dog movies in the last few years, that being 2018's Show Dogs. After a failed attempt to recover a stolen baby panda, police dog Max reluctantly teams up with a human FBI agent named Frank. A hot tip leads Max and Frank to Las Vegas for the world's most exclusive dog show. To find the panda, Max must go undercover as a contestant to get the lowdown from his fellow canines. With help from their new friends, the crime-fighting duo must now foil another kidnapping plot and rescue other valuable animals from a gang of greedy smugglers. Now, the reason that this is going to be sort of a mini marathon and just kind of a general discussion of movies like this is because while Show Dogs is easily one of the worst examples of these kind of movies, it's mostly very boring. The biggest criticism I have for this movie, aside from just being generally cliche and suffering a lot of the same problems that a lot of the other movies we're going to be talking about have, its biggest issue is that it's just incredibly boring. There's not really a whole lot to talk about. And really, aside from one key thing that I'll definitely get to later on, Show Dogs is not a particularly interesting bad movie, aside from this big thing that we have to address. But other than that, the movie itself is just kind of standard bad, like a lot of these other kind of movies. Just to get the plot out of the way, you have a police dog who plays by his own rules. He's a Rottweiler named Max, because of course it's named Max. Almost all kids and or dogs in movies have to be named Max. And he's played by reoccurring actor on the Blockbuster show, Ludacris.
Oh, this is ludicrous.
As far as I can remember, this is like his third time appearing on Blockbuster show. He was in Max Payne, he was in New Year's Eve, and now he's in Show Dogs. Third time to bat, and fucking, what a strikeout, man. Puts as much effort into voice acting in this film that he does in like TV commercials that he does.
This is ludicrous.
Ludicrous.
All right, who called for ludicrous?
Sorry, we went, this is ludicrous.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't tell Ludacris what's ludicrous. Ludacris tells you what's ludicrous.
So Ludacris as Max, he's a recluse, doesn't play by the rules, he often gets into trouble. Kind of like another one of the movies we've got here. He ends up getting paired up with a human who he doesn't get along with, and the human is played by Will Arnett, which was just depressing. I mean, even when Will Arnett is some bad movies, he's generally pretty funny, but even here, he couldn't save it. The material was just so fucking bottom of the barrel. They're teamed up together, they don't get along very well. It pretty much is just like your typical lame buddy cop movie. Like, there's even a bit where they're like switching the radio back and forth, and I guess it's supposed to be funny because haha, it's a dog doing it. And Will Arnett says in a funny voice, "Oh, what kind of dog likes hip hop?"
Max, stop it. What kind of
But the case that they're taking is they have to go to Las Vegas to go to a dog show, which is actually a front used to try and smuggle exotic animals, like a baby panda that recently went missing and a couple of other animals, like a tiger. And aside from talking dogs, there's a bunch of other animals that talk. There are these bad comedy relief pigeons that show up every once in a while.
Ooh, he's alone.
You bet he's alone, Midge. He always works alone.
And then from there, they partake in a lot of the humor that you'd see in movies like this. Like, the lowest common denominator of humor in this, it's like just barely a step over Furry Vengeance. It didn't have as many bodily function jokes as that movie did. You know, not a lot of pissing, shitting, and vomiting like that movie did. But, you know, it's the typical pratfalls, or someone gets bonked in the head or trips or falls over something. And if it isn't that, they implement a bunch of really forced pop culture references, whether it's references to other dog movies,
So romantic. He's a lady and the tramping her.
other animal movies,
Now this really is the life of Pi.
just random movies that just happen to be popular. And the worst one of the bunch, they reference movies that the actors in the movie have also been in.
What are you, the spinny Lego head guy?
What do you know about it?
But I guess the big character arc you can take away from the movie is that Will Arnett and Ludacris Dog slowly start to like each other more and more, and they become closer as a buddy cop duo. Which, by the way, the whole human dog buddy cop movie, it's already been done by Turner and Hooch, like decades prior, so that in itself just wasn't funny. But I guess the other thing to take away is that, like, Ludacris Dog doesn't really like the idea of going undercover at the dog show because he thinks that, like, all the dogs there are snooty and persnickety, but then he gets to know them a little bit more, and it's like they're talking up dog shows, and it's like, oh yeah, the dogs that go to these things, they actually put a lot of work and effort, and they're not just a bunch of stick in the muds and, you know, think they're better than everybody and snobbish.
I shall turn you into the show dog.
Oh boy.
But the big thing that we gotta talk about, and I feel like this is the only reason people will even remotely remember this movie, is because of the controversy that it had. The controversy in question was there was an original cut of the film, and I watched the version that is on the DVD and the Blu-ray, so it's the redone version. But when the movie first went out, for the first couple weeks it was in theaters. There's a part when they actually get to the dog show in question, and Ludacris Dog is getting felt up by the judges, which is something that happens at dog shows. They feel up the dogs to see, like, you know, their physiques and, you know, their physical prowess and whatnot. But there's a part earlier in the movie where the dogs tell him, like, oh no, when this happens, try to zone out and go into your happy place. As if it's like some kind of weird metaphor for child grooming and, like, trying to escape trauma by being touched and molested.
Maxwell, focus on not reacting. You must go in your mind to your happy place. I wish Sprinkles would be my best. Proud of you, buddy.
You're different than other show dogs, aren't you? He's such a good boy.
Oh, you're a good boy, man.
I feel like, yeah, this is a children's film, and it feels like this is something you really shouldn't fucking put in a children's film, especially considering the year it came out. This is 2018. This was when all the shit was coming out about, you know, Hollywood being full of sex pests and predators and pedophiles. There's a bunch of that shit going on. I don't know if you want to make a film like this that's, like, going into stuff like this and aiming it at children, because then people are going to assume that, you know, you have something to do with stuff like that. It got to the point where a bunch of those, like, angry moms against Facebook pages and mommy bloggers and all that kind of thing, they were coming out of the woodwork talking about this movie. And here's what this movie fucked up at. This movie made those people right about something. Most of the time when these, like, mom and pop rage against groups come out, usually it's parents just complaining about, oh yeah, this thing that I don't understand is raising my children. It's not the fact that I'm a terrible parent. No, it's the fact that the media is raising my kids. Well, I don't know what I did wrong. I gave my kids an iPad when they were only 3 years old, and I thought they would just be fine by age 18. But no, now I gotta get off my ass and be a parent, and I don't like that. This movie actually made those people right about something, because the parents that were coming out and being like, whoa, what is this, like, weird sexual shit going on in this kid's movie? They had all the right in the world to complain about that, because yeah, what the fuck? Only other movie I can think of that was, like, super mainstream that had the same level of scrutiny when it came to stuff like that was 2011's Sucker Punch. That's sad when fucking Zack Snyder's artsy-fartsy comic book wannabe anime rock and roll music video fantasy, whatever the fuck that movie was, is somehow nowhere as egregious as your stupid-ass talking dog family film. So then what they decided to do was, after getting some blowback, they decided to re-edit the film, and they took that out, and instead they replaced it with the dog getting felt up, but then they play that stupid-ass Sexy and I Know It song.
I'm sexy and I know it.
First of all, does anyone remember that song and how fucking painfully annoying it was? That song was like everywhere in 2011. So the fact that it popped up in this, I'm like, oh God, they were still using this in 2018? What the fuck? And secondly, I don't know if that's a really good substitute. I mean, you know, yeah, you don't have the weird, you know, molestation kind of comparisons going on. And then you play fucking Sexy and I Know It. This is a lose-lose situation, man. That's really the one thing people took away from this movie, and you can see why. Because timing, 2018, this is when all this kind of shit was going on. I mean, just 2 years later, then there was the whole Cuties debacle over at Netflix. Like, stuff like this is coming out when there's a bunch of allegations going around in Hollywood. It's not really appropriate to put in a movie that's allegedly marketed for really young kids. I mean, there's a difference between them making, like, the occasional adult joke in a show like Animaniacs or in movies like Shrek, where it's like, okay, it's a joke, you know, you can kind of just, like, roll your eyes. Like, that's something for the parents to laugh at, haha. This is like, yo, why do you need to make a whole scene about the dog getting fondled and, you know, make these weird comparisons to, like, child grooming? And then your solution is, when you get some blowback for that, your solution is, oh, yeah, let's have it that the dog likes it, and then we're putting Sexy and I Know It. Really, other than that, though, the movie's not that interesting to talk about. Like, I sat through it, I didn't like it. In all honesty, it's kind of hard to see, like, how it lands compared to the other stupid animal or talking animal movies I've reviewed. I mean, it has slightly better production than Furry Vengeance and shit like that, but writing-wise, aside from the obviously controversial scenes and the equally stupid re-edits to replace it, it's really no better than all those dumbass talking animal movies from like the 2000s, like Garfield and stuff like that. It's no better than those kind of movies, which is really appropriate because the guy that made this movie is Raja Gosnell, the same guy who directed Beverly Hills Chihuahua, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, and the live-action Scooby-Doo movies. Which, you know what, say what you want about those films, at least the live-action Scooby-Doo movies have meme potential to them. I mean, fucking Matthew Lillard as Shaggy, that already is a step in the right direction. There's nothing like that in this movie. There's nothing, like, ironically bad. There's nothing funny bad about it. It really, other than the weird controversy that it went through, it's not that interesting of a bad movie. It probably wouldn't be the worst movie of the year it came out, because 2018 had some competition. There were some bad movies that year. But as far as bad family movies go, yeah, this was really, really bad. Like, even for these dumbass talking dog movies, it's not good. I mean, I don't know if I'd say it was worse than, like, the 2023 Marmaduke. Although, then again, that movie didn't have weird child grooming allegory in it, so, man, it's hard to say. I mean, it's just barely, like, on par with the 2010 Marmaduke movie, now that I come to think of it. It's also not funny bad like Quigley. I mean, Quigley is the movie that has Gary Busey getting in a near-death situation and coming back as a little Pomeranian. That in itself is funny. And then you see how bad the production of the movie is. That makes it worth watching. It's nothing like that in this movie. I mean, it has a decent budget. It's got some big names in it. But really, the shitty writing, the pretty lackluster production value, I mean, the CG mouths on the dogs is okay, but a lot of the shots are just kind of static. It just kind of looks like a typical sitcom style of filmmaking. Going into this, I wanted to see the movie just to see how bad it would be. And while it was bad, there really wasn't a whole lot to talk about. It just falls in line with a lot of these other bad talking dog movies. Which is why I briefly want to talk about some of these other movies that I just so happen to have on hand and other ones that I happen to have seen. So that way we get these out of the way. It's kind of like a little mini movie marathon, just get some quick thoughts of these movies out of the way. Just talk about my overall feeling when it comes to these dumbass talking dog movies, because these things were everywhere for a while, and in some circles they're still going. Most of the time they just go straight to streaming service, but still. Like, they're still somehow around.
Cats and Dogs, The Revenge of Kitty Galore.
Okay, so to get this one out of the way, Cats and Dogs 2. I briefly made a reference to this in my Son of the Mask review, and at the time of doing that review, there was an announcement for a straight-to-video Cats and Dogs 3, and I jokingly said, Cats and Dogs 3? I didn't even know there was a Cats and Dogs 2. Yeah, you remember Cats and Dogs from like 2001? God, what a piece of shit movie that was, right? My favorite thing about this is that they didn't even get a lot of the same people to come back. Like, Alec Baldwin Dog is now replaced with Nick Nolte, which is funny because Nick Nolte also played the gorilla in Zookeeper. The main character dog from the first movie is now like the head of the dog agency, and instead of being played by Tobey Maguire, he's played by Neil Patrick Harris, just because. And we're following like a totally new character. He's played by James Marsden.
You doing, big shot?
Fine, good. No, not good. Yeah, I'm gonna barf.
Weirdly enough, just like Show Dogs, is a police dog, except he's more inept, and they're talking about kicking him off the field until eventually he gets picked up by, supposed to be the same dog that Alec Baldwin played, but is now played by Nick Nolte. Now they're after some hairless cat villain played by Bette Midler. They somehow are able to score her for this.
I will enslave all mankind!
Someone's having a bad hair day.
And eventually throughout the movie you find out that like there's a cat agency. So unlike the first Cats and Dogs where they basically just said, yeah, cats are evil, sneaky sumbitches, you can't trust cats, they're evil fucking beings. This movie actually kind of rights that wrong and has it that no, there's actually good cat agents. So, and there's also like some weird romance, like sort of, not really, between James Marsden dog and Christina Applegate cat, because the main cat in the movie is played by Christina Applegate.
Real professional.
I slipped.
But easily the best part of this movie is the pigeon played by Cat Williams. Cat Williams, when he can be funny, he's really funny. And is it weird that one of his best movie performances is a fucking talking pigeon in Cats and Dogs 2? He was actually funny. There's one part fairly early on when they finally have the animals like sit down and talk things out, and the cats reveal like, oh no, like that we're not evil, and the dogs are finally realizing like, whoa, not all cats are bad guys, huh? And they have a pigeon in there because the pigeon was originally going to be working with Kitty Galore. I almost said Pussy Galore, but that's not right. They're doing this whole scene on a playground, and there's like a little girl who keeps going up and down the slide, and like the dogs are fucking sniffing ass because of course it's a fucking family movie with talking dogs, gotta put a joke in there like that. And eventually like Cat Williams' pigeon just gets pissed off with the girl and just goes like, girl, you keep coming up and down that slide, what is wrong with you? And I thought that was funny. And the girl like freaks out because she realizes that animals can talk, I guess.
I don't know anything, I tell you. My brain is the size of a grape or a raisin, either a big raisin or a little grape.
Other than that, nothing really all that great in the movie. I mean, like, some of the action scenes are okay, even though a lot of them do look pretty fake. I can only imagine what it was like watching this in 3D, because this is back when the fucking IMAX 3D era was, like, dominating, and every movie, even if it wasn't originally made for 3D, had to be put into 3D just so they could fucking ramp up theater prices.
Your mission will be revealed at HQ. This squirrel will self-destruct, but first, a little dance.
Anyway, let's talk a little bit about this, Hotel for Dogs. It's a Nickelodeon movie, and it's about two kids who don't have parents, and they're in the foster system, and funny enough, the girl is played by Emma Roberts, before she went on to be in absolute bangers like Nerve. You remember that piece of shit? Yeah, she was in that. And her just kind of skirting by on the fact that she's related to Julia Roberts. And the boy, I mean, he looks familiar, but I don't know if I recognize him from anything. Interestingly, I recognize the director who did this. It's the same guy that would go on to direct the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie. Anyway, they have a pet dog, and like almost every foster parent or foster home that they're in doesn't allow pets. So they have to find somewhere to put their dog. So they put him in this old abandoned building that's plenty spacious. They know that the dog will be good and won't really wander off or anything. But slowly but surely, the place starts getting more and more dogs. So then they ultimately rework the entire place to basically be a sanctuary for the dogs to stay, so they're not on the streets.
Think they belong to anyone?
If they did, would they be here?
Better here than the pound.
Because they established the boy is a fucking master inventor, which I guess they learned from the parents, they're able to rig up all these like pulley systems and stuff so that like the dogs can like basically take care of themselves when the humans aren't around. Like they have... This one really overdoes the bodily function humor, unlike some of the other ones we talked about, but this one has a scene where they show dogs sitting at toilet bowls, and then, like, it's not rigged up to a plumbing system, but the shit then goes into blue plastic bags that are on a conveyor belt that end up landing into a dumpster outside the building.
That's disgusting. That has to be the grossest thing I've ever seen.
That's awesome.
Because you gotta put your fucking shit jokes in a kid's movie. But really, same thing with Cats and Dogs 2. It's like, this movie's not terrible. Like, if your kids want to watch it, it has cute animals in it. It's like, you know, maybe they would enjoy that, but otherwise, yeah, it's not particularly that interesting. Overall, I mean, you know, harmless. It's a very harmless movie. There's nothing in it that's like really that bad, but there's also nothing in it that's like, whoa, amazing, better than I thought. But as it stands, it's okay. It's all right. It's better than fucking Show Dogs, I'll say that. Alright, so there's like 3 other talking dog movies I want to talk about. First one, Beverly Hills Chihuahua. I rewatched the first one on TV just for shits and giggles. I remember I watched it once years ago when me and my friends were at Blockbuster Video. It was one of the movies that we watched out of sheer morbid curiosity. And I remember that trailer. When that movie was coming out, there was a teaser trailer, and it looked so stupid. And when we watched it years and years ago, we're like, well, that killed an hour and a half. And so I rewatched it recently for this video, and this is gonna sound weird. It's not as memorable as the live-action Scooby-Doo movies, but it's still not as shitty as Show Dogs. But you can definitely see the same kind of patterns that Show Dogs and movies like it were kind of adopting traits from, if that makes any sense. As for the plot, I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis plays some like rich LA woman who, of course, has like a little purse dog with her.
I'll get you anything you want. Yes, I will. No, not you, Patrick.
And it's this little white chihuahua played by Drew Barrymore. And she gets like her, I forget if it was her daughter or her niece. I think it was her niece. Played by Piper Perabo, to take care of the dog while she's away for some big socialite event. And of course, what happens is Piper Perabo takes the dog with her on some road trip to like Mexico.
I want to talk to Chloe. Would you put her on? Hi, honey.
And of course, it's the kind of Mexico where, you know, it's, oh, everyone's partying and having a great time. And then, of course, you know, the dog ends up slipping away and getting into trouble. And so basically it becomes like a Homeward Bound kind of movie where it's like, oh, now the animals have to get back home safely. And along the way, she befriends this former police dog, another German Shepherd, just like James Marsden in Cats and Dogs 2.
I could use a little help.
This time he's played by Andy Garcia. And here's the weird thing, right, about this movie. Andy Garcia is actually acting. Like, he was acting his heart out. He felt like he was in a real movie. You know what? Just like the Sam Elliott dog in the 2010 Marmaduke movie, I was like, can we get a movie about this character, please? Like, he's a former police dog who feels like he screwed up and he eventually ran away and now he's, like, resenting his past. And it's like, you know what? Can we make this guy the main character? He's way more interesting. But, you know, and of course, they don't really like each other at first. He sees her as, like, a privileged, snotty, you know, uptight kind of girl. And, you know, she thinks that he's just a gruff brute who doesn't understand the finer things in life. And then eventually, as they go on this crazy road trip to try and get her home and back to, you know, her owners, they slowly start to form a bond. Meanwhile, the person who was like the face of the advertising is a Chihuahua played by George Lopez, who's basically just there to say funny, vaguely Hispanic sounding things. Because after all, why else would you get George Lopez to be in your dumbass children's film called Beverly Hills Chihuahua?
Corazon!
Oh.
You are lovely!
Who is that hunk of Chihuahua?
If you ever need someone to lick inside your ears, I would be most honored.
His whole thing is that he's in love with Drew Barrymore dog, and like he's also like trying to find her and try to get her home safely. And like in the third act, they finally come across each other and, oh, hooray, and then they establish this whole thing of, like, this whole, like, ancient civilization of Chihuahuas, and, like, Chloe is supposed to take over or something. This was, I gotta be honest, that was around the time I zoned out. That was when I stopped paying attention, because the movie just got even dumber than it was before. The thing is, they're not just content with having talking dogs. Just like in Show Dogs, you gotta have other animals that talk. So they established this comedy duo of this rat and this iguana that end up stealing her collar because it has like gems and stuff in it. And you know eventually they're going to get the collar back, but it's like, you know, oh, because they're a rat and an iguana, they're sneaky and they're always trying to like get into situations. There's a part where they're inside of a piñata at a store, and then like, you know, the piñata ends up ripping off and they get caught by the store owner who chases after them with a broom, and it's stupid. Really, I am fairly convinced those characters existed just so they could make one of them be played by Cheech Marin, because Cheech Marin is in a bunch of Disney movies.
For the love of a banana. Let's get out of here.
Disrespect, I really like Cheech Marin as an actor. He's been good in other Disney dog movies, like Oliver and Company. He was pretty funny in that. But holy shit, man. There was no reason for those characters other than they needed more comic relief. It's weird. I feel like all these movies have the exact same kind of quality where I wouldn't say that they're good, but Beverly Hills Chihuahua, just like these two, it's like, look, if you have kids and they want to see a movie with cute dogs in it, then yeah, you know, if you're not paying best of attention, then yeah, I guess watch it with them. But really, other than like really little kids or people who are just huge dog lovers, I don't know if I'd really recommend these all that much. Especially would not recommend the next one I'm going to mention, which is Cop Dog. Now, I'm going to be really short with this one. There's already a Red Letter Media Mr. Plinkett review of this movie, and that pretty much sums up everything. But I just wanted to bring this movie up because it was free on YouTube. I watched a little bit of it, and it reminded me of this other movie that I reviewed, and it's one of the few Blockbuster videos that I did that got removed from YouTube for copyright reasons. It was this stupid 90s ABC family movie called My Magic Dog, or My Talking Dog, or My Ghost Dog, or something like that. But I did a review of that movie. The review got taken off of YouTube for copyright, but the movie itself is still free to watch on YouTube. I don't fucking know. But Cop Dog, it's pretty much the exact same premise. You have a boy that befriends a dog, and then halfway through the dog ends up dying because it gets hit by a car, and then the dog comes back as a ghost, and then they have to unravel some kind of mystery involving a will to a person that's related to the kid's parent. It's like almost beat for beat the same plot, except the big difference here is that I think in My Magic Dog, it was that the kid's mom was dead and he was living with his dad. In Cop Dog, it's that the kid's dad is dead and he lives with the mom. And I forget whose will they were trying to find. I think they're trying to find the will for the dad in this movie, and then the other one, they're trying to find the will for the mom in My Magic Dog. It was like almost verbatim the same plot. And I was thinking like, wait, why is this called Cop Dog again? But no, the reason it's called Cop Dog is because, oh, the cop was a police dog. Completely ignore the fact that it's like a golden retriever, not like German Shepherd, not Rottweiler, none of that. It's just regular, I think as Mr. Plinkett called it, stupid, pussy, family-friendly cop bullshit dog.
But for the sake of the movie, it's a fluffy, wimpy family dog bullshit dog.
Not feel like dedicating a whole review to Cop Dog, so really, all I could do is just recommend the Mr. Plinkett review. But seriously, I watched a little bit of it, and I was thinking, didn't I already watch this? And it's like, oh yeah, shit, it's that movie I reviewed that got taken down. Yeah, fucking Cop Dog, My Magic Dog. Only difference is that the dog was a cop dog, apparently. Like, y'all know me like. Either way, last thing I wanted to mention, and this is going to be super short because I actually didn't watch the movie, but I watched the trailer because I was reminded of it because it came out last year. So over the years, there's been this growing trend of movies that are like, let's take what would otherwise be a family movie and try to make it for an adult audience by just throwing in a bunch of swearing and easy sex jokes. Like we saw it with Sausage Party, where it's like, oh, we're making a Disney Pixar type movie, but it's for adults, and we're making it rated R. Or Happy Time Murders, which is like, oh, we're going to take a Muppets movie, but we're going to make it a rated R comedy murder mystery. And we'll have jokes where it's like, we show Muppets having sex and flaunting titties and saying, fuck, that's so edgy, bro. And then like Good Boys, which was like, kind of like Superbad, except instead of like high school graduates, it started like a bunch of middle schoolers. It was stupid. But the movie I wanted to mention really quick is called Strays. And it pretty much looks like one of these kind of movies, one of these dumb talking dog movies. But again, the big joke is, oh, we're gonna show dogs humping and like, you know, them eating mushrooms in the woods and they're gonna get high and...
What are those? Kinda looks like food. Oh, shit. Give me a second.
You look different.
Shit, you look different too.
How so? Is it my human hands?
And every time I saw that trailer, I was like, fuck, this feels like this is a kid's movie. But then at the last second, they just stapled fuck on top of everything and they're like, bam, rated R comedy, easy, shooting fish in a barrel.
Gonna bite his dick off.
Oh. Wait, did he just say bite?
Yeah, I'm still a little drunk, but...
I said, I'm gonna bite his dick off.
Oh, we gon' fuck shit up.
Now again, I can't talk about it too much. I only saw the trailer and I heard it got mixed reviews at best, so maybe it is better than it looks, but oh my god, that trailer made it look so terrible. It just looked like another one of these kinds of movies, but the big exception was, oh, we're gonna have them say edgy swear words and say sex things and talk about like, oh, who's your daddy and doggy style and ho.
Cool dog, dog gone. The Dog Father, soccer dog, European Cup.
Firehouse dog, karate dog, telemarketer dog, monster mutt, Santa paws,
Dog detective, ghost dog, good boy, administrative services manager dog, Beethoven, Beethoven's second, Beethoven's third, Beethoven's fourth, Beethoven's fifth, Beethoven's big break,
Space Buddies, Snow Buddies, Rusty, Frank, Sheba, Chestnut, Bingo, and Saboos. What? The Retrievers. My magic dog, the dog who saved Christmas, the dog who ruined Christmas, the dog that got shot out back for ruining Christmas.
Anyway, that does it for this video. Show dogs and a couple of quick thoughts on some of these other dumb talking dog movies. But yeah, I wanted to talk about show dogs, didn't really have a whole lot to go on, so then I decided to throw these in as well. But yeah, I think that pretty much explains everything in regards to these movies and this weird trend that still continues on in streaming service form. Like there's a bunch of these kind of movies that get dumped easily. Like I did see one that apparently stars Jake Paul and it's like a genie dog. Like it's a dog that has genie powers or something. I might end up doing a video on that at some point because that did look genuinely awful, so who knows.
I wish magic had a disguise. Seriously? That's what you came up with?
What's wrong? I think I look cute.
Tune in next time for Blockbusters, where we're going to be talking about another cop buddy comedy. But instead of a guy and a dog, this time it's going to be two guys who are supposed to be California highway patrolmen. We're going to be talking about the 2017 movie adaptation of Chips, that show from like the late 70s and early 80s. But until then, guys, I'm Adam Sykes of The Blockbuster Show, and we will see you guys in the next video.
Sure that everything is intact.
Hate to go out on a date with Judge Edie Franklin, have her judge me.